The rain had just begun when Melanie Hale drove into the gated parking lot outside the Crystal Hall Theater. She wasn't supposed to be here. The concert belonged to her husband, her ex-husband, technically, the man who had left her shattered without even the courtesy of an explanation. But she came anyway, partly out of nostalgia, partly because she had nowhere else to go, and mostly because she needed a moment of distraction before facing another night in the empty apartment she could barely afford. She parked, breathed in, breathed out, and jumped when someone rapped on her window. A man bent over, drenched, hood pulled low. "You." His voice was urgent. "I need your help." Melanie hit the lock button. "I don't have money." "I don't want money." He tugged his hood down just enough for her to see his eyes, startlingly blue, startlingly familiar. "When we get out of the car," he said, "you have to kiss me." "What?" "Please," he begged. "It's go time." Before she could argue, he opened her door, took her hand, and led her out into the rain, right as two security guards sprinted around the corner. "Excuse me," one shouted, pointing. "Is he bothering you, ma'am?" The man didn't miss a beat. He slid an arm around her waist. "Not at all," he said. "She's my wife." Melanie choked on her own breath. What?" Camera flashes went off. People cheered. And only then did she realize where she was standing, right next to the backstage entrance where fans often gathered to catch a glimpse of the world-famous rock band Kissfall. Why did they care that she kissed some random? Unless, no. No. The man glanced down at her, rain dripping from his lashes. "Play along," he whispered. "Why me?" she whispered back. "Because you looked like the only person here who hated this place more than I do." He looked away just as the security guards approached again, and so did a woman in a crimson suit, her heels clicking like gunshots. "David Ryder," she snapped, "what is this?" "Who is she?" "David Ryder. Lead singer of Kissfall. The man whose voice had filled arenas. The man who hadn't been seen publicly without his manager in 3 years." David squeezed Melanie's hand. "My wife," he repeated. "Now, if you'll excuse us, darling," he nodded to her, "we're late." Melanie blinked. He was insane, but something in his eyes, something trapped, made her play along. She lifted her chin and said, "Let's go, sweetheart." Gasps erupted. Cameras flashed like lightning. And with that, the world's most famous rock star dragged a stunned, heartbroken nobody straight into the backstage maze, and into a fairy tale that would soon turn into something much darker. The cage made of gold. Inside the dressing suite, Melanie realized too late that she had stepped into a world built on illusions. David threw off his hood. Without his stage makeup or leather armor, he looked startlingly human, exhausted, shadows under his eyes, hair damp and curling at the ends. "What was that?" Melanie demanded. "You just called me your wife." "I panicked," he muttered. "If that manager catches me outside alone again, she'll chain me to the stage." "That's insane." He laughed bitterly. "You think I'm free? My contract runs my life. My schedule. My diet. My relationships. I don't even own a house. This," he gestured around, "is all rented for the brand." Melanie frowned. "So you pretended to kiss a random woman to escape for 5 seconds?" "You weren't random," he said softly. That silenced her. But then the door burst open. "David," barked Fiona, his manager. "The sponsors are furious. The label is furious. I'm furious. You're going on that stage, you're singing, and you're going to smile through it." He lifted his chin. "I refuse." Fiona's jaw flexed. "You don't get to refuse." Melanie saw it all, the fear, the resentment, the quiet rage of a man who had been used up by everyone who claimed to love him. She saw herself. Because she too had loved someone who drained her dry until she became invisible. When Fiona finally stormed out, yelling orders at her assistants, David collapsed on the couch. "I'm sorry," he said simply. "For dragging me into this. For seeing me like this." Melanie sat beside him. "My husband cheated on me," she confessed in a whisper. "Right in front of me." David didn't flinch. He didn't pity her. He just listened, and for the first time in months, she felt, noticed. "We're both trapped," he murmured. "Then let's escape," she said. He looked at her. And for the first time all night, he smiled, small, fragile, hopeful. "Let's," he whispered. "A night with no chains." They escaped through a service entrance, David wearing a plain black hoodie and jeans. Without his stage armor, without the spotlight, he was normal. Human. Beautiful. "My fans would riot if they realized their rock god buys cheap gas station coffee," he joked, sipping from the paper cup she bought him. "It tastes better than fame," she teased. "Infinitely." They wandered the quiet boardwalk by the river. Melanie told him about her marriage, how she once believed love was something earned by becoming perfect, how she'd twisted herself into knots to satisfy someone incapable of caring. David told her about fame, how he'd worked since he was 18, how he had traded privacy for applause, how the spotlight burned hotter than anyone knew. Neither had a home. Neither belonged anywhere. So for one night, they belonged to each other. At one point he stopped walking. "Melanie," he said, voice shaking, "there's something I've been writing. But I've never shown anyone." He took out his phone, opened his music app, and began to sing. A soft melody. Raw, vulnerable lyrics. A love song still half-formed. "I stay by your side, storms are raging, but I'll hold you through the night." Melanie's breath trembled. "Is that your new song?" she whispered. "It's yours," he murmured, eyes locked on hers. "Every word came from looking at you." No one had ever written a song for her. No one had ever thought she was worth one. David stepped closer. "For one night," he whispered, "can I pretend that I'm not a star? Can I just be a man who's falling for you?" Her voice barely existed. "I'm already falling." He kissed her. Soft at first. Then desperate, like a man starved for something real. They held each other beneath the street lamps, the river shimmering like molten silver behind them. For the first time in years, Melanie felt alive. And for the first time in his life, David felt free. But freedom borrowed from a cage never lasts. A love worth losing everything for. Morning sunlight shattered the magic. David's manager found him. Dragged him back. Threatened his career, his contract, his entire world. And David, to Melanie's heartbreak, went with her. He didn't even say goodbye. Melanie returned home believing the fairy tale was over. But later that day, her ex-husband stormed into her living room. "What did you do?" he barked. "What? You hired the best lawyer in the damn city. He says I'll lose the house, the car, everything." He grabbed her arm. "Who paid for that?" Melanie froze. She knew. She knew. David had gone back to his cage to set her free. The realization hit so hard she could barely breathe. Her ex shoved her backward. "Answer me." Melanie steadied herself. Then she lifted her chin and whispered, "Let go of me." "Or what?" She smiled, slow and confident, and held up a yellow slip of paper. An autograph. One that read, "I'll stay by your side. David Ryder." Her ex froze. "How did you get that?" "He wrote me a song," she said proudly. "And I'm going to steal him back." She walked out, slamming the door behind her. That night, David stood on stage, thousands screaming his name, lights blinding him. He looked like a star, but inside, he was breaking. He saw Melanie in the crowd just as he stepped to the microphone. Their eyes connected. Everything stopped. His manager hissed in his earpiece, "David, sing the set list. Now." But David smiled. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, "tonight I'm not singing for the world. I'm singing for one person. The woman who showed me what freedom feels like." The crowd gasped. Fiona nearly fainted. But David didn't care. He began to sing the unfinished song, her song, finishing the verses right there on stage, hand trembling as he reached down toward her. "You were my home from the start, my home, my heart." Melanie climbed onto the stage steps. Security hesitated. David held out his hand. She took it. And in front of thousands of screaming fans, he kissed her, the kiss they never got to finish, the kiss that finally made sense. The lights faded around them. But they didn't need them anymore. Because in the end, it was never about fame, or contracts, or music. It was about two broken people, who found freedom in each other's arms. And this time, neither of them let go.